Except my hair's wet.
Oh my gosh.
No.
No.
I'm totally joking.
Okay.
Did you start the recording?
Yes, so we can start with the recording.
So we were just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your career to start off.
Mm-hmm. Like how it started?
Just like your job description.
Oh, my job description would be I have a Tazzy off. To push him down, Avina.
Okay. I'm so bad.
No, don't. I don't want him to. I am a artist who. What do I do? Okay, wait. Let me start. I'm a painter who paints mostly landscape paintings that I then sell as originals, as prints, and reproductions, and greeting cards. So those are sort of the three things. And I have a gallery that we manage and are able to keep that as a place for us to sell. Sir. He's like, cannot handle you guys. All right, so.
Okay.
Oh my God. Charlotte, call Tazzy. He's having an absolute... He cannot handle... It's pretty funny, actually. He is having so much fun.
Come on.
He's like, new people.
Come on.
Maybe you could... All right. Anyway, sorry.
Okay. And we were wondering what kind of schooling process did you go through, if any, to get
Right.
to this career?
I really didn't have school... I didn't go to school to be an artist because I thought I would be poor and never get ahead. Like, I couldn't imagine how you would make a living as an artist, and I didn't see the point. So I did a lot of art in elementary school, middle school. It was definitely always what I was best at. And then in high school, it took career art 1, career art 2, we had all these career art classes. But when it came to like applying to college for art school and getting a portfolio together, I was like, I don't see how that makes like really any sense at all. So I skipped it in college, and it just seemed like it would be fun, but a waste of time. That's what I thought. So I was a sociology major, and then I decided it wasn't until I made little greeting cards for our wedding for thank you notes that I started thinking, well, maybe I can sell this stuff, because people were giving me really good feedback. I made like 200 thank you cards handmade, and I got people just loved them. They're like, you should try to sell these. I'm like, really? No, I don't think so. So that was sort of the start.
What did you do in your career before becoming an artist?
I was a waitress, or server, I guess you say now, at Lunig's for a long time. I really loved that. Made some good money. I sewed sails for a sailboard company. They cut a hole in the floor so you can scoot the sail along. The sails are so big, you can't pull them up over a sewing machine. So I did that for a while, and then I sold real estate for a little while, which seemed good because it would be flexible. I didn't want to work 9 to 5, so that seemed like a good idea, which was okay. But I was happy to give all those up for painting.
Do you think you've ever worked in a field that was male dominated?
Have I?
Yeah. Or have men ever have you been? Do you think being a woman has ever impacted your career at all?
I mean, I think I had the usual sort of harassment in the restaurant business, not necessarily Lunig's, where you just have people of power that are making insinuating comments or just being douchey. You don't have to quote me on that, but the usual garbage that women seem to have to put up with, and you have to kind of tell them to get out of your face. So I feel in the restaurant business, again, not Lunig's, that was definitely a thing. But other than that, I don't feel I feel people took my art for face value, whether I was a woman or a man. I feel I wasn't advantaged or disadvantaged by being a woman. I think people responded to my work. I just happened to be a woman.
Yeah. So would you say that right now this is your dream career, you are living?
Some days. Other days I get really frustrated because making a painting is weird. It's you have this little squeezed out pieces color, it's colored toothpaste or something, it's paint, and then you have a brush and you have to figure out how to make a painting and how many decisions you have to make. Sometimes it's so hard. I get tired of how each time you make a painting, it's you have to decide, which colors, how much more, should I do a little less, should I wipe it off? And so sometimes I wish I would just have a job like at City Market and you just be like, here, take these carrots, wash them, and put them in a bin. It's like, oh, okay, that sounds really nice. But overall, I would say it is absolutely a dream job. But there is times when those decisions of whether a painting's done, or you just can kind of get like stuck.
Yeah.
It's usually like having a show where you need like 30 new paintings, and you get to like almost that halfway point, and it just becomes like, oh God, I don't know what I was thinking. This is too hard. I don't have too many to do. I haven't really started these, and you can get like really overwhelmed. I get really overwhelmed. So you're very working by yourself. So it's really isolating.
Do you think like with the challenges of like how you were saying you never thought you wanted to become a painter because you didn't know how you could make money off of it, like girls who are younger and like think that they want to be a painter but might have the same sort of like worries, or I guess anyone really,
right.
What would you say to them about
I mean, I think that it's something that is always good to pursue what you love, but if you can do it in a way that you have backup, like I kept my other job, so I never put that pressure on myself to be like, I'm going to become an artist and I want to make a living. I never did that, and I think that was really smart because I didn't know. This happened very organically. It just sort of grew over the years, and so I was lucky. I didn't have like this goal. And I think goals are great, but in some ways they can be disappointing. So it kind of was just like one step at a time. I think that as long as you can do it and continue to just like support yourself, but find a way to like go after your passion, and then you find out. Because sometimes there's really great artists, but they might not sell, and it's sort of unfair. Like, I don't know why people respond to my work. It's not like I'm better than anyone else. It's just there's something about it that's a little intangible. It's like, whatever. It makes people happy, they tell me. And so it's like, that's just so lucky that what I do brings that to them.
yeah.
And you can't really teach that. So sometimes I feel like even if somebody copied like my model, it might not still sell. So I feel like it's a little tricky that way.
Yeah.
You don't, you know?
What made you decide you wanted to like have your own studio rather than like working in an art job?
Yeah,
for
or like
someone
just
else?
selling to galleries.
Yeah.
Galleries,
like,
yeah. I found when I had my first show at the Daily Planet back in 1988 or 89, I guess, 1989, and it almost sold out, and I was just sort of like, oh my God. And I had these big paintings, and people were really enthusiastic and taking them home and buying them, and so I sort of realized I had something that people wanted and they were willing to actually pay. And so I, like, sometimes you admire a painting, but how do you feel if you went back the next day and it was gone and somebody else bought it? Are you just like crushed? Or are you like, oh yeah, that's a beautiful piece, I'm so glad Avina got that? Or are you just going to be like, oh my God, I really wanted that, I should have done it? So I don't know what makes people make that decision. And so I think that, did I answer your question? No, I feel like I skipped it. What was it again? Wait.
What made you decide that you wanted to do stuff on your own?
Oh yeah, so on my own made sense, thank you. Because I could see that I had something that people were interested in having. So it made sense to control it myself and then have my own gallery because it was working. I would love to work with other galleries more. I just don't seem to have a lot of luck with that. I feel like we have such a good niche here in Burlington. Every time I've tried to go like elsewhere to other cities to work with other galleries, I don't know, it's just, I don't know if my prices aren't right for them or who knows. So I've kind of like slowed down a little on that effort because this is working well.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. It's like our own place, and everybody's like, oh, will you show some other people's work? It's just like, well, that's a great idea, but I don't need to. And then you're a gallery, you sell something for $100, you keep 50 and give the artist 50. I don't want to start like that whole thing. Like, I have my own. If I sell a painting for $100, it's my $100, and I can use it to buy groceries or Sylvie new cleats or the rent, so I think that's really beautiful because galleries it's a big chunk. I think they take half, so, and it's fair, but it's better if I can do it myself.
Yeah, and it's also if you're like taking away some of your paintings to create space for other people's paintings.
Yeah,
It's like not really worth it.
no, I think it's about the real estate of, as in the walls are the real estate. Like, I really need to show the depth. And people come in all the time, they say, how many artists are these? And it's like, oh, it's just me. And they're like, what? So that's, especially if it's Moran plant, which is sort of modern and kind of more contemporary looking, and then landscapes. But I think that works out, to be able to do that. And I think the main thing is to remember that I'm like a retail store. It's like the Gap. You can't go in every time and have it look the same, so you've got to always be figuring out ways to get people back in and look at your work again.
Did you ever feel like with galleries or in any time, I guess, that you were like being taken advantage of, and maybe galleries were trying to sell your work for less than you thought it was worth, or like they would just use your name to like attract other people?
I've had a couple times where I have been taken advantage of, but it hasn't been by galleries because I haven't had that many experiences with galleries. My one time I got taken advantage of is a woman in Colorado started her own greeting card line, and she basically copied my paintings. Like, she basically took the cards and then copied them exactly as much as she could, and then signed her name and produced them and was selling them. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I was just so shocked. And she's like this, like, seemed like a really cool woman and had like mutual friends.
How
And
did you find out?
because my rep in Colorado, I have reps around the country that go to stores to sell our cards. Here's the Monstream line. They show, and she right away was like, "Oh, these are Monstream ripoffs." And so I ordered them from her, and I got them, and I was just like, "Oh my God!" Like, it's totally fine to copy. If you see George O'Keeffe and you want to learn how she did it, you should totally copy it, but you can't then sign it Avina Mansky. It has to say, honoring George O'Keeffe, Avina. Or you've got to identify if you're copying a painting. If you are all out painting Camel's Hump, well, everybody paints Camel's Hump, but if it's actually another piece of art, and she said she didn't know, it's like, oh, come on. So anyway, we had a cease and desist order, which is when the lawyer writes and says, hey, you got to destroy those aren't, you can't sign your name to those. And she agreed. But that was a little weird. And then I had a guy once take one of my images and basically use it for a book cover and did not ask my permission, started the process of asking, and then went ahead and used the image, never contacted me, and just all of a sudden it was like on this like flippy little book about divorce. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that you buy at the grocery store. That guy, and you couldn't find him. He was just gone. But like a few things like that where I've been kind of like, but it hasn't been anything that has been probably gender related in terms of being taken advantage of. I would say it's just been stuff that, well, people are going to copy things they like, and I guess it's flattering. I don't know.
You've kind of already touched on this, but we were wondering how you made the transition from former jobs to like pursuing your passion, like how you stayed confident to like
Right.
through that.
Yeah, and that's a great question because I really do have an interesting story on that. Is I was waitressing and selling real estate, and then I sent these cards out, and everybody said, oh, you should try to sell these. So I was like, well, maybe on my spare time, I could try to do that. And so I started making handmade cards, and they were little. So I would paint them at night, and then we'd grid off in masking tape, like 70. And then I'd do like 12 cows, 12 skies for Camel's Hump, 12 of the Camel's Hump image. I just would be really fast and good at like getting it done quick. And then I'd tear up the tape and take a big yardstick, tear them into like little ones, and then glue them onto these cards. And I sold 15,000 in 2 years. I made 15. I was like, it was insane. But what started as a couple stores, and they would reorder. And so like that's such a weird start. Like nobody's gonna do that. Like I don't know any person who's started that way. So I had this incredible sort of test market. It's like, so I knew that whatever I was doing was working, and it's also what I didn't know, it was working me towards the 10,000 hours, or like the magic number to learn to play violin, to learn to be good at soccer, where you have to do something. Is it 10,000 hours or some and I was actually honing that, and I didn't know it. So I got really good because in painting those thousands of cards, 15, I still can't even, that doesn't make any sense. But I know it's true because each box had 5,000 envelopes in it, so I'd sell the first one, I needed another one, 5,000. And then I ordered the third box, and I was like, oh, God, that was just like really bizarre to me. I was like, how is that possible? And that wasn't even how many I made, because if I had an order of 12, they come in dozens, 12 cows or 12 Northern Lights, I would make 14. if the 2 extras were good, then I could save them for the next order. Sometimes 2 of the cows would look like camels or something stupid, like I couldn't sell them. So I would always make extras so I wouldn't end up short. And then, so there were so many. So that really got me started, and it gave me, that's where I got my confidence, because I knew if people bought those, like if I then went to the printer and said, okay, I want to print these cards, I think people will buy them. I know which ones are popular. I had the test market for 2 years, so that was super, super helpful to know like what would sell. So that was, again, kind of a really interesting way to start, where I don't know anybody who would want to do that. So it worked though.
Maybe one, I don't really know if it would relate to your specifically, but like, why do you think it's important for women to be in the art business, or like what?
I think for many, many years, like the Impressionists and further back, women weren't like almost allowed to be artists. It was always the men. And so I'm not sure why that role was not accepted, or were they actually just raising the kids and they didn't like let them, or like they didn't have time. I'm not really clear, because there's like some of the Impressionists, this woman named, I think, Bertha Morisset, who was just incredible, but there weren't, like, she was around the time of Monet and Degas and all those really famous men painters, and there weren't many women's names. There's a few. Cassatt, George O'Keeffe is later, but like I really feel like, I don't know why, it's not that we don't have the talent that the men have, it's just, I don't know if we just culturally weren't like allowing women to have the time that it takes to hone those skills. That's so true with many careers, you look back, so I think it's just taking time. So I do think it's really important, and I hope that people continue to follow their passion, whatever it is, and it should be equal. Like, I mean, it's got to be as many good women painters as men, or whatever. So I don't know why, like, that over the years. I don't know, like, if you look back like a couple hundred years ago, why that would be the case. But I'm sure it was just traditional roles in family, and I think probably took more to raise. Well, look, cooking would have taken so much longer. You know, everything like raising a family was so much harder. Heating a house, like all that stuff, was probably so much more time consuming than today, where we turn the heat up, or I don't feel like cooking, let's throw a pizza in. You didn't have that option. So where if I'm working hard and painting like crazy and I'm on a roll, I don't worry about dinner. I'm like, make your own damn tortellini. You know, it's not like, so I think we have more freedom now to explore stuff, I hope.
So when you had kids and like became a mother, did you feel like it kind of hindered your art career at all, and like you felt like you had to spend more time with the kids and like dealing with them and stuff, and you felt like you didn't have enough time for art?
I think that it was an interesting thing. People used to always see me like, oh, you're doing so well, you're raising your kids and you're painting. But I said to them, it's more like if I worked at IBM and I kept my job and had kids, it's like, obviously my kids went, like if you were at IBM, you're an engineer, your kids would go to daycare, and you would have that arrangement so you could work. And I did the same thing, but I think for some people, sometimes people over romanticize what it is as an artist. They picture me there breastfeeding and painting with one hand, which definitely used to happen for sure. But in general, like I needed to block that time out from 9 to 1, whatever, when Sylvia and Avina went to preschool together, and I would block that time out and know, okay, I have 4 or 5 hours, and so I feel like it didn't hinder me. If anything, sometimes it helped, because then you really get really focused on that time, what you don't have all day anymore. It's like, okay, ready, go, and you know that you don't have to worry about them during that time. And then the other thing is they inspired me for different reasons. Like kids come home with their own art, or they'll say, I remember I had a really bad block for a while where I couldn't paint, and it was like, I don't know, maybe months or years, or I don't even know, it was months. And my son was 16, and he's like, Mom, get in here right now. And I'm like, whoa, what? And he's like, sit down. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, here, pick up your brush. And I'm like, what are you doing? I was like so nervous. I was like, what? He's like, now paint. And I'm like, what? I'm going to sit here. You're going to start painting. And I was like, oh my God. I was like giggling nervously. I was like, And he's like, you just got to do it. And he just like sat there, and of course I was like, he's right. And it was really, really like a kind of pivotal moment. I remember like, yeah, and it was like so important to him. For him, he's kind of like doesn't always communicate a lot, so like for him to like sit me down and like decide that he was going to do that was so inspiring. I was like, all right, this is really cool. It really helped me kind of get out of a little place where you do get stuck sometimes. You just don't want to do it, and you get like, ugh, I can't. And you know, most of the time I know that's going to happen, and I have to just work through it. Just don't worry about it. You can't like actually stop if everything you're painting is terrible. Just keep going, and it'll work out. It's like, you know, soccer. You might shoot a ball like 10 times and miss, but the 11th time might go in. You have to just keep trying, and it'll happen. So I feel like I do that now, but it can be still frustrating at times. I get Tor to sit me down. And yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
you're
you so
welcome.
much.
If you